how much is your time worth? Because even if you value your time at $100 an hour, right? Like, and it takes you an hour to make a video, like that's $1,200 for 12 videos, whereas like mine is $1,000 for 12 videos. And like most people or most professionals and people that I'm working with on LinkedIn, they value their time over $100 an hour. So the second you start to kind of think about it that way, the price is like, I feel like my price is very low.
Welcome to the Cashflow Fight Club podcast. I'm Mike Deaton.
And I'm Ligia Deaton. Together as co-hosts in life, business, and this podcast, we're matching up the heavyweights of cash flow creation to see who reigns supreme.
We do this so you can discover the best way for you to generate transformational cash flow and pursue the life of your dreams. So whether you're a side hustle seeker, full-time entrepreneur, or just looking to create job-quitting cash flow like we did, hit subscribe and grab your ringside seat for the most entertaining and informative investing show on the airwaves. Let's get in the arena.
Let's do it. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, what about video? For the last few years, we've all been hearing how video will be and is king of content. YouTube, Reels, Shorts, InFeed, you name it. It does feel like video has begun to, or already has, taken over our attention spans almost everywhere we look.
And if you're not leveraging video in your own business or content marketing, it's time to get on with it. Today, we have such a fun matchup with two guys that are capitalizing on video. One, overcoming the many obstacles most of us face when conceptualizing and executing on content for our own uses within the knowledge and service-based economy to make content creation easy. Another, taking a more cinematic approach to e-commerce businesses that want to highlight products, generate buzz, and increase sales.
We discuss how to go about getting started, being tenacious, and pivoting into areas where the market is, attracting clients, leveraging key talent, and may have just facilitated a blossoming partnership between these two heavyweights.
So, without further ado, let's introduce our guests. Fighting out of Tampa Bay, Florida, this young man is making a name for himself in the video advertising space, picking up a love of photography from his mom and leveraging those skills to build a brand and a business. He spent hundreds of hours immersed in learning the art of video and offering his services for free in order to hone his craft and get his start. A self-professed, coffee-obsessed, longboard-loving entrepreneur from Florida, he's aiming to build one of the largest creative agencies ever seen, servicing e-commerce businesses with physical products. And when he isn't working on his business, you can catch him having a great conversation at a coffee shop, at the gym, or finding ways to build his knowledge. Please welcome to the Cashflow Fight Club arena, Chay Nott Shots Nott.
Yes.
And fighting out of Charleston, South Carolina, our next guest has been on a journeyman's path. After spending many years in sales for a tech company and hosting a successful and OG podcast, he, like so many others, found himself a little lost at the start of this little pandemic that came about a few years ago. After rebooting a podcast and then pivoting into coaching, he saw opportunities through the problems of others that were struggling to create good video content. After testing out a few different channels, he found solid footing with LinkedIn, and he and his video content creation business has been on fire ever since. He's already helped over 100 creators make epic content for the platform just in the last few months. And he's on a mission to help even more founders build bigger brands and fill their pipelines with clients. Please welcome to the arena, Danny, a.k.a. Coach Danny D, DelVecchio.
Woo!
These two creatives really deliver the goods today, and you are going to enjoy learning what it takes to get your own business started and off the ground. So grab your notepad, pop in your earbuds, and let's get ready to rumble. All right, Danny and Chay, welcome to the Cashflow Fight Club podcast. This is going to be a fun matchup. Happy to have you both on.
Yes, welcome.
Appreciate you having us.
Yeah, you bet.
Thanks for having me.
Not to be confused with Dan and Chay for anybody that's that might be tuning in thinking we're having a country western singer on. Yeah. No,
I mean,
this is going to be fun. This will be fun. So, as just a reminder to the audience, we go through 3 rounds. First round is getting to know you guys both, just personal story, background, who you are. Round 2, we'll dive into your business model, and then round 3, we'll go a little deeper. And then Lidge and I will take a minute or two to confer. We'll crown a Cashflow Fight Club champion of this epic matchup of video business models. So, let's have some fun.
Rock and roll.
Let's kick off round 1. We would love to hear more about you, your background, what led you to be where you are today. Chay, do you mind starting?
Absolutely. It was 2019, and I had nothing to do with a camera. My mom had been a photographer for as long as I can remember, never picked one up myself, didn't even actually enjoy it. I was a musical theater kid, and that was the trajectory. That was where I was going. 2020 rolls around, and I'm trying to find ways to be on as many film sets and productions and stage productions as possible because I wanted to be in them. But if I couldn't be in them, I still wanted to be around them. And entry-level photography was my way of doing that. I didn't necessarily enjoy it, but I wanted to be on sets. COVID rolls around, and I'm stuck at home. I have nothing left to do. The entire performing arts and film industry has pretty much gone to a dead stop, and I didn't like the idea of relying on others in that way for the ability for me to be employed, and just sitting at home being a waste of space. And so the only thing I had around me was video games, movies, or a camera and other various hobbies. And I decided to spend all of my time on the camera. 10, 12, 14-hour days on YouTube, learning everything that I could, picking up photography, learning video along the way, then reaching out throughout 2020 and 2021 to do as many free jobs as possible for as many people as possible, trying as many things as I could, getting as familiar as I could, failing many times, making some of the worst videos and photos I've ever made in my entire life over that 3-year period has eventually led to where we are now.
Nice. That's great. Young Steven Spielberg there with your camera. You're a West Coast guy?
I am an East Coast guy. I'm in Florida.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I thought you were in California. Florida.
No clue. Would never do that.
All right. You guys.
Sorry, California.
Both East Coast guys. I was going to pitch this as a West Coast, East Coast thing. I'm glad I didn't do that. So, all right, East Coast.
And what do you like to do when you're not filming or playing with a camera?
When I'm not filming and playing with a camera, typically I am trying to find some other way to work on myself or on the business. A year and a half ago, I would have said a million different hobbies that I enjoyed. I have since niched down into making work most of my life. And I really enjoy pursuing physical fitness, personal and mental development, and learning as much as I can about business, lead gen, operating the business, and making myself as a freelancer a more viable long-term business in the future.
Awesome. Love that.
Danny, the floor is yours. Tell us a little bit about you.
Oh man, it's so hard to do the background in such a short period of time. But anyway, I had 20 years in sales. I worked my way up from a sales rep at Radio Shack up until sales director, sales trainer, and ultimately same kind of situation. 2019 or so, my company got acquired and lost my job and got a brand new job right in the beginning of COVID in March of 2020 as a sales rep selling HR services for paychecks. And at that same time, I decided that I wanted to start a podcast because I had been a podcaster in the past. I actually was an early adopter. I was podcasting in like 2013 or 2014. I started it. And I learned how to grow a pretty good audience. I had a podcast that had 500,000 downloads on it, was ranked in the top 3 in the TV film category for you there, Shay. My podcast has nothing to do with my business at all. I never made any money off of it, but it was a fun thing. And what it taught me to do was it taught me how to grow an audience on social media. Because I have this podcast, and it's like, okay, well, how do you tell people about it? Well, social media. So I learned how to use Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And that's kind of, how I started going in the direction of also becoming a content creator. So again, it's 2020. I got this new job. It's kind of slow. It's a sales job. I'm like, you know what? Let me try something on the side. So I decided I was going to do this new podcast, and it was not going well. Not like the last one. And
Is that just to
I had a
interrupt a little
coach
bit?
in the podcast mastermind. I joined this podcast mastermind. The coach finds out a little bit more about me, and he goes, "You need to quit podcasting right now. You need to start a coaching business. And when you do that," he's like, "then you'll create a podcast at some point that serves that coaching business." So I started a coaching business, and I'm teaching people the two things that I know: how to sell and how to do it with social media. Um, and a video is a big part of putting yourself out there and building your brand on social media. So I would have clients who I would say, "Hey, you really need to start doing video content." And I had this one client, coaching client of mine, and he was very apprehensive about it. And I said to him, I was like, "Look, here's what you're going to do. I'm going to give you all the information here. This is what you're going to talk about. Just set up the camera, talk, and then I'll teach you how to edit it." Well, he sent me this video, and boy, it was the worst video like you could ever see. And the guy he's like the most handsome guy ever. He's extremely outgoing, but you turn a camera on and it's like a whole nother person, right? So he sends me this video, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I can't work with this." So I say to him, "Hey, let's do this. Come into a virtual studio with me. Let's record. I'm gonna ask you a few questions." And we spent about 20 minutes in there, and I got enough to cut 10 videos. And that's when I realized, like, hey, I got something here. And that's how I got into video content creation for clients.
That's epic. Yeah, born out of a need, as a lot of the great businesses are. Your second time around on your podcast, was it just I'm sure there's not just one factor, but is it crowded marketplace, vague topic, or not niched enough, or just
yeah. So the first podcast was so specific, right? Like the audience that I was going for was such a very specific niche audience. And the second one was definitely more broad, but the second one also went in like a weird direction that I didn't really intend for it to go. And then I started to kind of get frustrated with it because it was like not really what I originally wanted. And you know how when you're kind of second guessing your thing or your heart's not fully in it, you're never going to be able to produce something great. So it was a struggle.
Yeah, it becomes work at that point, right? Finding guests, even doing having it. Yeah, for sure. Definitely, we felt that. Well, let's jump into round two, Danny. You've already teased a little bit your business model. Why don't you carry us a bit deeper into that? So, what do you? Sounds like a similar business model to what it is today, but walk us through the ins and outs of what you do.
Yeah, so I had this business model where, again, what I do is a virtual recording session where I have clients that come in and we do all the research on their industry, on their niche, on their target market, and we help come up with topics, hooks, prompts, questions, whatever you want to call it. And then we actually interview them, capture their authentic responses, and then we hand it off to a professional editing team who does all the edits and makes the videos look great. Right. And we focus on short form video anywhere from, the 30 seconds to 1 minute, give or take. I was doing this business model and selling it on Instagram, and I completely failed and had to shut it down completely because Instagram, the creators are very comfortable with video. They know how to do it. They don't need, it was the wrong channel to be promoting this service. Then I positioned myself over to LinkedIn, and I like I said, I had shut the company down. I wasn't planning on doing it anymore. I was going back to just focusing on coaching. And then when I got to LinkedIn, I saw something very interesting, and I saw a need in the marketplace for video. There's a lot of creators out there on LinkedIn who really would like to have video content, but have no idea how to execute it. And I saw a really interesting tweet from a LinkedIn influencer. And her name's Leah Turner. She has over 150,000 followers on LinkedIn. And she tweeted that her video content was outperforming all the rest of her other content. However, she hates doing it. And I was like, okay, cool. So I actually reached out to her and I said, look, I saw your tweet about video content, and I just wanted to, I have this idea, I have this business model that I've been thinking about. And I just don't know if it's a good model for LinkedIn. And obviously you, as somebody who is an expert on LinkedIn, you can give me some advice on this. And she, so I explained how it works, the virtual studio, this, that, boom. And she goes, people should be lined up to buy that. And at that point, I was like, okay, cool. Well, what about you? Would you like to do that? And she was like, yeah. I'm like, on the house, free of charge. I know Shay was talking about it, free work, like taking as many free projects as he could. That was the idea. So I said, let me help you out. Let me make you some videos. I recorded a bunch of videos with her. Eventually, she posts one on LinkedIn, and people went nuts. I got like 300 connections. Like I woke up to 300 connection requests and an inbox full of messages and a whole bunch of people lining up to do videos. I ended up signing 6 clients that very morning. And since that time, it's been taken off, and I have helped over 100 creators make video for LinkedIn.
That's awesome. And so it sounds like it starts with an intake form of some kind. You send it to clients to get a bit more about their business so you can do your research.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. The clients fill out some information regarding their business, who their target market is, what areas are their expertise, and what topics they feel really comfortable speaking about. And then we interview them based upon that information. Well, we do all the research first and then interview them based upon that information. And like I said, even for people that are somewhat camera shy, it really works because, again, they're speaking to us, and they're also speaking around topics that they are 100% an expert in. So it makes somebody that would typically like be extremely scared to turn on the camera. It gives them a little bit of a comfort level to be able to do it.
Yeah, it can be hard just to talk into the lens of a camera and, not get flustered or reading the script as your eyes go back and forth.
What's really inspiring for me is that your business model was solid from the very beginning. But just because it didn't work on Instagram didn't mean that your business model was not solid. You just had to find your right platform and your right tribe, the people that were really hungry for that, for your service. And that's such a good lesson for all of us that want to be out there, because we really need to find our platform.
Yeah, totally. You got to go where the audience is hanging out. And the right audience for me was on LinkedIn. So to be honest with you, like the pivot from Instagram over to LinkedIn basically saved my business. Like I probably would have gone back to working at like a 9-to-5 job in sales had I not made that pivot.
Yeah. It's a delicate balance to know when to quit. Or push through, right? It's just, have you exhausted all your opportunities, or, analyzing like you did a little bit, the different people that are publishing on the platforms. As I think about the two platforms, even the Instagram seems a bit more organic in terms of the video that comes through rather than edited. I mean, obviously there can be some editing for flow, but there's not a lot of B-roll footage or different things.
No, actually, I think it's the opposite. I think the editing on Instagram has kind of like gotten to the point where it's like, if you are not doing all these crazy transitions and bells and whistles and captions, and like people are not paying attention. And to me, I don't love that style of video because I believe it detracts from the message a little bit. And then the other thing with like Instagram is like there's all these dancing and pointing videos and all that, right? Now I think where with TikTok, that's where you're seeing a little bit more of that, like, I'm going to turn on my camera and I'm going to talk to the camera for a few seconds. And like, and not really care so much about the editing and everything like that. I think TikTok has moved more in that direction. And then I think LinkedIn is sort of LinkedIn is still figuring itself out on video. They're not there yet. They are nowhere near where Instagram and TikTok are, as far as the maturity as a video platform.
Yeah, a totally different type of platform than the others, right? It's really not as much of a social media platform as it is a business to business or business to consumer. And so I think in that respect, you get all kinds of content, right? You get very straight up corporate business informational. You can have the fun aspect of things and different stuff. Let's put a pin in it just for a second until we get into round 3. And Chay, let's flip over to you and just give us an overview of kind of what your video services are all about.
Sure thing. So I service a very different set of clientele, like in a very, very different way. So you have the virtual studio and you work with primarily a team of strategists, probably a creative writing team, and then a set of editors. I have a much more tight-knit team of people that I work with in person. Typically, I service e-commerce businesses who manufacture a physical product. So not necessarily online retailers who sell widgets and things, but somebody who actually manufactures and sells a physical product that they invented or created that is theirs. Think CrossNet. What's up?
No, I was going to say, like, if you have a physical product, I don't work with anybody that has a physical product. I only work with people that are selling their knowledge. I would call it knowledge workers or something like that. So it's funny because we came here to battle and everything. It's like, we serve a completely different market.
And I was sitting there listening to what he was saying. I'm like, I got no dirt. This is awesome. It's fucking great. No, it's super, super good. So I service those types of people. Lately, it's been businesses that are doing like under 2.5 to 3 million a year. But generally, I'll try to service businesses that are doing between like 4 million and 8 million, only because they have a better footprint and like who they are, the direction they're going. But I also have like a startup program. So if you're like just getting your thing started, you have 2 SKUs and you're like, these 2 products are the launch of the business. Like I've done this twice now for other brands where they'll come through and they're like, we have this product and nothing else. We just need to create the brand around it. That's what we do. So they'll send us the product. I will assemble everything from the locations, cast, crew, logistics, props, set decor, and anything else that's required, all of the pre-production paperwork, everything that's required. All they do is send over the product, fulfill an invoice, and help out with the creative conversations. I handle everything else. It's all physical here in Tampa, in person, where we come together as a cast and crew. We take all of the photos, all of the videos, and then post-produce them into a cohesive brand image that is then handed over to the brand for them to do their will with. So we don't develop websites. We don't run ads. We don't work with these brands beyond the creative scope. We essentially just help them kind of define what they want their voice to be and then come together to create all of the imagery that you see. If you go to a brand's website to purchase their product, and it is their product, those photos that you see, those video ads that you see, the UGC that you see, that's us. Everybody else, like, we just hand it over and that's the entire thing. So that's essentially like who I service. It's those e-commerce businesses that have the physical product. And that's essentially how we do it without getting too nerdy and nitty gritty.
Yeah, it's great. I love this. It definitely, we have a balance on the show of not putting 2 identical business models together or investment models. It's a little too similar, but getting enough of a difference. But yeah, we have 2 different approaches here. But what I love about it is you guys both, the business is so, let's say, approachable for a person, right? I mean, you were able to get started, and I'll shift into round 3. We'll go a little bit deeper here in just a second. But yeah, I mean, you were able to start up a business and get into it on your own. And then with that, maybe let's kind of jump into what we'll call round 3 here, but let's talk about what it took to get you started. So I'm envisioning, Chay, that maybe there's more startup costs in I don't know if you have like, I'm envisioning a higher caliber of production equipment cameras, different things versus Danny. But we can explore that here. I mean, Jay, why don't you give us a little bit about what it took to get you started going down this path, other than your mom's video camera or whatever you
absolutely
had access to.
So I started on that. It was a Nikon D7000 that I started taking photos on, and a lot of her lenses and things like that. And I just took the pictures, and I couldn't really do video on that thing, and I hadn't really picked up video at that point. But when I started getting interested in video, and it started getting my mom more interested in photo again, because we both were like, now we have a shared common interest. We want to keep learning and growing together. We ended up actually investing half and half into a brand new, at the time, camera body that had significantly better video capabilities, so I could pursue that. And then she could also, like, we could share it and she could use it for the higher quality photography. Little did I know I'd also be getting into stills and all that stuff. But I rode that camera. I used it from like the middle of 2020 through 2022. I used that camera for just over 2 years, and it got me pretty much through everything. I had to buy a lot of like widgets and gadgets and things here and there. I would say, as far as the startup costs go, like how much it took to actually get into this business, it started with a $2,200 camera body and then some lenses that my mother had purchased from years prior. Some gear that was inherited, some gear that we purchased, used. It started with a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. And more recently, as I, like, at the end of 2022, I really doubled down. I'm like, okay, I know where I'm going with this, sort of. And I know that in order to get there, I need to be able to produce these quality pieces of content without the limitations that this piece of gear is currently getting me. And at that point, I decided to make the investment into some nicer gear. And that was about an $8,500 and $9,000 investment into some other gear on top of all the gear that I had been purchasing for the last 2.5 years prior to that. And then since then, if there's anything that's like obscenely expensive, I usually will just rent it. So if I'm going to a production site and there's something like, okay, I really want this, but like, I don't really want to spend $2,000 on this one thing for this one shoot, this one time, I'll just rent it for $200 for the day or for the week or whatever. But I would say the startup costs are definitely higher. And for a longer time horizon, the profits are lower doing it the way that I do it, because it is very, very bespoke, very, very custom, making sure that everything in the vision for the brand, for the product, for the client overall is handled and taken care of, means that every single production, nothing about it is cookie cutter. The process might be cookie cutter, but the things that we buy, the places that we rent, the people that we bring on is all, for the most part, very, very custom depending on the actual needs of the project, which means that the budgets vary dramatically. I can't say, it's very, very difficult for me to say, all right, this is a $10,000 widget, this is a $15,000, and this is the $3,000 startup, or whatever it is, because it could vary so dramatically. And it would be limiting for me to say it's $5,000 or $10,000 and we'll do X, because sometimes to get the desired outcome, you spend $400 more or $1,000 more, and it's dramatic. But I wouldn't get that dramatic difference if I limited it to a $5,000 package or a $10,000 package, when spending $6,000 for the $5,000 or $11,500 on the $10,000 package would just increase it that little bit that makes a huge difference. And that's why it's so custom and it's so difficult.
Yeah. How do you go about quoting something like that? I imagine there's an initial consultation with a client to understand the scope and their desired output. And
so there's usually 2 calls before I give a quote. The first one is kind of a discovery, like, who are you? Why do you want to talk to me? And how are we going to work this out? The second call is, and on that call, I'll also go through some of the creative and really learn about the brand. I'm sure it's very similar to what Danny does, where he'll actually learn a little bit about you, what you want, why you're doing it, why you're calling me. Have you tried other things in the past? Why have they not worked out for you? What can we do better? What have other people done well? What have you liked? What have you really, really hated? Where have you lost money? Where have you made money? All of those things. I ask a lot of personal questions right on the gate to like figure out what's actually going on. I'll take all the information from that call, put together a rough idea of what I think would solve the actual problem. I mean, it's the age old, like, solve the problem, right? I'll put together an idea of what I think will best accomplish the goal based on the vision that they give me for the brand, what kind of visuals they like, what emotions they want people to have when they're scrolling through the website, what they want people to think when they see certain pieces of creative attached to their product, what they want to put in people's minds. Put together a basic plan. See, like, that's call number 2, is showing that. Be like, do you like this? Do you think we're on point? Because if so, this is kind of the rough scope that we're thinking of. And if you like this, I'll refine this and give you an exact quote. Thumbs up, thumbs down, adjustments as necessary. And then there's an estimate. And then that's where we rock and roll.
And you've mentioned 5,000, 10,000 rough price points. Is that where you sit ballpark?
Right now, that's kind of where I sit. It's a basic way to get a good amount of content to launch a product. What I've been doing a lot right now with companies like CrossNet, companies like Vanu is one that we're just getting started. Little Big Playroom is another one that we're working with. A lot of what we've done with them is they'll have a new product that's coming out and just need a collective of creative or collection of creative to put that product to market. Amazon images, website, lifestyle images, UGC ads, video ads, short form ads to run on different platforms and things of that nature. And so we'll just create 5 to 10 lifestyle photos, 5 to 10 white backdrop images, 3 finished ads, and a 2-minute B-roll gallery that they can use. And then that is handed over to them in all different file sizes, image formats and stuff for a bunch of different applications, PNGs and TIFFs for larger scale print marketing and graphic design, high res and low res JPEGs, and web size JPEGs for different uses there. But yes, to answer your question, that is the general price point that we're kind of sitting in, is that like $5,000 to $10,000 mark, depending on how many products the brand wants to launch. If they want to launch a lot more products, it goes to the higher end of that. And even some projects upwards of like 13, 14,000 to like get, 7, 8, 9 products launched all at once. That's kind of what we're running.
Yeah, makes sense. Danny, let's flip over to you. What, a little more details about yours in regards to what Chay's run through. What kind of equipment are you using I'm curious what your virtual studio is like. Is that, I guess this is a virtual studio of sorts, right? And StreamYard that we're recording this in, Zoom, other platforms.
Yeah. So essentially, as far as like the startup costs go, it was basically a Calendly subscription and a Riverside FM subscription, and that's it. Riverside FM is a podcast platform that you can use to record. It's basically the same thing as Zoom, except it records in higher quality video and audio for our clients. Now, there are a lot of times where I will actually tell the clients to just record the video natively to their phone and then upload those videos to a cloud service so that we can take the footage and then cut that into, the short form content, right? So, there is definitely like as far as like the cost associated for us, when I first started, it was nothing. Right. I was doing everything. I was the person that was doing the interviews. I was the person that was doing the editing of the videos. And I am not a video editor at all. Like, I've never been taught video editing. I do it on the CapCut app on my phone, so I'm not like a pro editor or anything like that. As I've gone on in the business, I have completely outsourced almost all of the client work. So 95% of our clients actually do the recording sessions with my guy, James. I am so lucky to have found James. He's an excellent creative director for us because he meets the 2 requirements that I was looking for. Number 1, which was that he knows how to interview and ask people questions. And I found somebody that's done over 200 podcasts. So that pretty much qualifies that, right? And then I wanted somebody that makes videos on social media and does a very good job of it. And he posts a video on Instagram just about every day. So he knows how to make videos. He knows how to do hooks. He knows how to research, find the right type of content, find the right direction. And he was the perfect person to plug in and replace me from doing that client work. But even before I started bringing James in, I outsourced the editing. So I have a team that I work with out of Miami that does all of the video editing for all of our clients. So between James and the clients, James and the editors, they're doing 95% of the work, which basically frees me up to do the branding, the marketing, and the sales, which is what I am best at. I do still work with some of our clients directly, but right now, I personally have 3 clients that I work with, and the rest of the clients are working with James. So for the most, and the clients that work with me, they pay a higher premium and a longer commitment to work with me.
Nice. Okay, so you've kind of stratified your offer to cater to different clientele.
Yeah, I mean, it's a unique offer because it can really work for anyone.
Yeah.
Like I said, anybody that's like, whether it's a founder or a coach or a VP or executive at a company, like anybody that's looking to build a brand online, especially on LinkedIn, and start putting out video content, it works. And now we're in a new, interesting kind of pivot with our service, or just not pivot, but an interesting evolution of our service. So what video content also does is it gives you a great opportunity to be able to repurpose it into other content. So for example, what we started to do was we started to give all of our clients a transcript of their recording session. And with that transcript of their recording session, now they are able to take that, with that transcript, we gave them also an AI guide. So here are some prompts that you can use and take your recording session and turn it into other posts for your LinkedIn. So whether that be a written post, that be a carousel, or even just to write the caption that goes along with the video. And ultimately, we start providing that to clients, and then clients say, hey, I want that. I want you guys to do the writing for me. So now the next evolution of our service is we brought in a copywriter. So now I have a copywriter who actually takes the transcript and uses it to create additional LinkedIn posts. And it's great because it's still in their voice, it's still in their insights, it's still their words, because it's all coming and stemming from the conversation that they had with us, right? So we are really able to capture their essence in both the video and now written content. So now what it actually does is it gives me the ability to provide people with an entire month of content, anywhere from 16 to 24 pieces of content. And it only takes them 30 to 45 minutes to get all of their content for an entire month for LinkedIn.
That was going to be my question, was the time investment for the client side. Like, how much time do they have to spend? That's fucking
30
awesome.
to 45 minutes a month to get a month's worth of content. And not only that, but like this content can be reproduced across YouTube Shorts, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, obviously all of the written content, and then all of the video content. And then the written content can obviously be repurposed across other platforms as well. So it's an amazing way for people to get a lot of quality content that is authentic to them and their face and their voice and their insights and stories, and do it in a really short period of time. So like if I had to choose like the 2 kind of things that we impact the most for our clients, is we give them a ton of time back. And then we also just make it comfortable for them to do the video process, because a lot of people are very uncomfortable with the video process. So those are the 2, major benefits that clients get by working with us.
I mean, bro, you're basically a strategic co-host. Like, your brand is essentially like a strategic co-host for their podcast. Not that you're becoming a second face of their podcast, but you're helping them with figuring out what you guys are going to talk about. It's like if you and I did a podcast together, one of us would, or we both come together and figure out the ideas of what we want to talk about, the things we want to do, the things we want to say, what the questions we want to ask. I would ask you something, you'd ask me something. You're just doing that with an invisible second half.
Yeah.
These people.
Yeah, we're all behind the scenes, right? But
So
we are definitely kind of steering the ship. That's for sure.
Danny, you touched earlier on how you found your first 6 clients, but do you mind elaborating a little bit how you find your clients today? What are some methods that you use?
Yeah, so 95% of my clients come from LinkedIn, and they come from typically my organic 2 things: my organic content, people that have seen my content, and I do quite a bit of sales content where I will have direct call to actions for people to work with me. And then I am also relentless in the messaging on LinkedIn and using LinkedIn DMs. So the second that somebody connects with me, I am sending that person a voice note and saying, hey, thank you so much for connecting and welcome to my community. And if there's any way that I can be a resource for you, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. And I would say like on like 1 out of 30 people that I do that for is like, oh, I'm interested in your services. I basically have 2 kind of sales systems. I have one sales system, but it kind of can go in 2 different directions. I have the ability to close sales right through to DMs without having to get on sales calls because of the familiarity that people have with me. They see me in their feed basically every day. I essentially post a video on LinkedIn every day, pretty much. I mean, every once in a while, I'll throw in a photo or an image, whatever. But for the most part, I post a video every day. So people have this level of familiarity, this know, like, and trust with me. So when they start to go and inquire about my services, I can shoot them a voice note, say, here's how everything works. Take a look at my samples, take a look at my testimonials. Here's everything that you can see right here. And then just get back to me with any questions that you have. And I'm able to basically just kind of go back and forth and get people closed right through voice notes. And then for other people that are starting to ask more complicated questions or maybe need a little more hand holding or maybe just, need to be sold on the process a little bit more, I set them up and get on a sales call with them.
Yeah, bro.
Fantastic.
Chay, how about you? How are you getting your client book?
LinkedIn and word of mouth is huge for me. So on the business side, so I still operate as a freelancer as well as just Chay Nott, the videographer and photographer who can come out and handle an event or something like that, right? But then there's also Nott Shots, which is everything we've been talking about so far. On the Nott Shot side, a huge portion of it is LinkedIn and word of mouth. So the first few clients came from me just doing a lot of free work and then posting that and then reaching out to people on LinkedIn, showing them that work, and then getting them to do an entry level, like barely getting my expenses covered type of job. And it has since grown from there to those people referring me out when they have, because all these e-commerce people, they all talk to each other. And if you get with the right ones, they're all talking to the other types of people you want to work with. And typically, if you do a halfway decent job, they want to talk about their badass friend Chay, who makes the dope content that makes them a fuck ton of money. That's the idea, right? And so the word of mouth has been huge for me personally. On the freelancing side, Instagram has been surprisingly lucrative when I post more frequently, and I get a lot of business from dominating certain location-based hashtags, which is something that a lot of people don't necessarily pay attention to. So for me, I'm based just north of Tampa in a town called Brooksville. So if I use and it's adjacent to a town called Spring Hill, I do a lot of work with the city of Claremont, which is about an hour away. I do some work with people over in Orlando, Tampa, Clearwater, Naples, Bonita Springs. So I'm all over Florida, and wherever that particular job happens to take place, I just tag all the places that are in the area. So the hashtags will be hashtag Tampa photographer, hashtag Tampa videographer, hashtag Claremont photographer, hashtag Claremont videographer, hashtag Orlando, so on and so forth. And then slight variations of that: Claremont photo, Claremont video, Claremont recap video, things like that. And I'll just all of my hashtags, 4 of them will be about me and the rest of them will be location based. And I've gotten probably I don't even know how many DMs I've gotten from people that I'm like, how'd you find me? And they're like, oh, we just searched for Fort Myers videographer. I'm like, no fucking way.
Perfect. Yeah.
Damn straight. All right, sweet. Let's go. So that's a huge part of it for me. The freelancer, LinkedIn and word of mouth, all the way from just cold outreach and stuff through offering to do a small job for somebody through a cold DM. They like it. They then hire me for a bunch of other stuff and tell their friends on top of it. And that's just how I've been growing.
Yeah, it's a great strategy, especially since you're a location-based service, right? And versus Danny, you could be anywhere, right? Your virtual studio, being able to pull people in. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I'd be super interested to figure out, Danny, I'd be interested to talk to you after this too, to figure out, because my thing is super high ticket. So I can't necessarily just close people, although the familiarity aspect, like you were talking about, huge, right? That's where the word of mouth comes in for me, the referral. Typically people come into the call ready to spend. It's just a matter of how much, because we're talking in the thousands, not the tens, not the hundreds. So it gets a little dicey for some people. but I want to try to create something that's small enough that is attainable for most people that I could consider it like a loss leader. But I don't know. We can talk about that later.
Yeah, it sounds like you could, content's really helpful for you as well, in filling things out. Danny, one thing we didn't touch on, price points for you. Kind of where's your product or products positioned?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's we do as low as 1,000. So 997 is our one-time session where you come in and get 12 videos. So that's kind of like the entry point, right? And then we go up to, I have clients that are up to like 8,000 is probably like the highest ticket that we've sold at this point. But typically, we get a lot of clients that go for that $1,000 starter package. That's probably the number one item that we do sell. And then I've restructured my pricing model. I used to do a monthly subscription, and I actually moved away from that because people would try to, I guess they would come in, they would subscribe to the monthly, and then they wouldn't record that month because they just didn't book it or they didn't have the time or whatever it is. And they're like, oh, can I get a refund for last month? And it was like, we're not doing that. So I basically changed it into a kind of a package model. So now you can buy either 1, 3, or 6 sessions from us. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can pace those out at your own pace or whatever, right? And those come with
exactly, because I found also people figured out how to manipulate the subscription. I knew that the subscription was going to be able to be manipulated because I charge less, if you were subscribed than if you just bought it as a one-time service. So a bunch of people would subscribe and do
cancel.
the 1 month and then cancel or whatever. And I was like, I'm sure it'll happen, but it probably won't be that bad. It was bad. So, but that's it. I mean, that's how you learn, right? You just kind of have to figure it out and adapt. And that's kind of why I moved into the model of doing the packages. But for the clients that we're doing we're doing the content, the written content, and the video, that's kind of, all those clients are upwards of 5,000.
Mm-hmm. Nice. You guys have both touched on support crew teams to help you do elements of your business. And it sounds like you're both using US-based employees and services. How did you go about finding your teams? Chay, we start with you.
It started with friends. It started with people that I met along the way at different jobs. It started with when I would go somewhere as an attendee and I would see the videographer walking up to them and talking to them and being like, yo, what's up? I do what you do, just differently. And then working with them a little bit, talking with them, looking at some of their videos, seeing if they were good or not, sometimes not. And eventually just bringing somebody on for out-of-pocket costs. So I would still get a job and then I would do the job as if I didn't have that person, but I would still have them there and give them the responsibility as if it was their section of the job, just in case that they sucked, it didn't completely fail. And then from there, once I figured out, okay, I can trust them, I can work with them, the quality of work is good, they take feedback well, they're on time, they're punctual, they're early. I've had a few people like just not show up. I'm like, okay, that's a great quick way to get blacklisted. Then I just add them to what I would consider my team. My entire team is just a bunch of contractors. I am a one-man show, very similar to how, like Danny, you said you started just doing everything. I do everything to this point and bring in contractors on I'm going to lose my sanity basis. And as I'm putting together these jobs, and sometimes I need somebody to, like a recent one that I did, I was way in over my head and I have no interior design capabilities whatsoever. And so I brought somebody in to basically go shopping with me for 4 hours. And I just said, I have $2,000, go. And that's what they did. And then they were there on site to help decorate everything. I had two photographers with me that day. One was handling the studio white backdrop photography, and one of them was handling all the lifestyle stuff while I was handling a lot of the video and stuff like that. So that's how I kind of operate. I find my people sometimes it's through posts. I found some of the editors that I use through just on LinkedIn. Please God, I need help. Send me your portfolios and some links to stuff you've done. And then I'll get responses. And 2 weeks later, I'll have somebody that's somewhat competent out of 100 people that are not. But most of the time, I've been very fortunate to have a good community of people around me that are decent creatives. And I've just been able to sift through those to find some of the best ones. And I work with 7 different people right now on a regular basis that are just some of the most kick-ass people in the world. They're all within probably a 2 or 3 hour drive of me. They're all local. I'm a very strong America first. I hold those values very, very hard. And so I try to keep everything as close to home as possible within the state, within the country, if applicable.
Yeah, it's great when you can support other people in their employment, especially if they're, working the power of the network is a great way to, as you mentioned, as you do, get referrals. And it's nice when you get that word of mouth. There's already an embedded sense of trust and somebody kind of vouching for that.
I also think it's brilliant that you don't have them on the payroll. You basically, they're not out of pocket, but they're paid based on the project.
You could maybe dream to be so busy that you have.
Absolutely. No, at some point I would love to build out a world where I'm responsible for the food on those families' tables. I would love to build that out, and I would love to have that. Right now, I'm not in a position to do so without taking on a significantly higher amount of debt that I'm already in trying to build this business. It's a huge amount of risk. I believe that the first hire for me will be a full-time editor, primarily to help me, or at least a editing agency to help me with putting out my own content to help build up the business to that point. But I'm not 100% sure what direction I want to take with that. But right now, a per project basis helps out a lot because I have fairly established day rates for most of these people I work with, where I know that this person's going to cost me $600 a day. This person's going to cost me $400. This person's going to cost me $1,000. This person's, every single day that they're working, this person's going to cost me $75 an hour or $150 an hour. And that allows me to, when I'm kind of on the fly, like, okay, you want these photos, you want this type of a location, that's probably going to cost me about $1,000. I need 4 people. Those people are going to cost me about $3,000. Okay, I can do some of that basic math and say, okay, this shoot's probably going to be somewhere between $6,000 and $15,000. You're looking at that wide range.
Yeah.
What do you think? And then I can go from there.
Yeah, makes sense. Danny, similar for you, or
I have gotten every single person that I work with through social media, whether it was Instagram or LinkedIn. That's where they've come in from. Like I said, I found James on Instagram, so that was a huge win. And the editing team that I work with, I also found them through Instagram, and the copywriters, and working on a couple graphic designers right now to do some very simple stuff. And I'll end up getting them through LinkedIn.
And was that general outreach like, hey, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z, or you found
I would
someone
never
and
do
you
that.
loved what they were doing?
If I went on LinkedIn and posted that I'm looking for a video editor, like I would,
your DMs would just,
what I would get would be unmanageable.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't even have a big following like you do. And when I made those types of posts, bro, you'll get like 50, 100, 200, 300 people. None of them in America.
Yes,
and none of them are good.
Grammar and all that.
No, essentially what I would do, what I would do is I would look at somebody whose videos that I like and ask them who they use as an editor, and then probably just ask them if I can have a conversation with their editor and talk about that. So that's pretty much how I would do it.
That's what I was curious about.
Yeah, because like I said, if it would open up the floodgates, and I wouldn't be able to handle it.
Yeah, I don't ask, and I get 5
video
a day.
editors are relentless.
Yeah.
Especially on Instagram too. I mean, everybody on Instagram is like, "Can I edit your videos? Can I edit your videos? Can I edit your videos?" It's like, I mean, I barely post on Instagram, and I still get messages every day about people wanting to edit my videos for me.
Yeah, I feel you. We get it on all of them: Facebook, YouTube, all of the channels. Cool. What else?
Well, I'm very impressed with what you both are doing. And Danny, I have to say, for me, making videos, it's such a frog that I need to swallow. It really is so hard and so difficult. And I feel like so many people feel that way, especially they want to put out content out there. And we know video works so well today. And it's a world of video content, really.
It's intimidating.
Yes.
I think I was thinking about this. I mean, we're your clients, right? We're the same. We're not actually your clients, but I mean, we're like your avatar or whatever. Because I will have that revelation that, man, we need to be putting some video out there. It would really help. But then there's so many small hurdles that you just have to get over. Like, okay, well, what kind of content are we going to talk about? And then, okay, it's setting up and shooting, and then it's editing, and it's just all of these little things. And you've kind of taken all of that away and just said, hey, sit down with me for 30, 45 minutes. We'll occupy your time, and then we'll do the rest in the back end and deliver your package. And
totally. It's like you're an entrepreneur, or you're a solopreneur, or you're a small business owner. It's like you already have so much stuff to manage and so many things to do. And then you got these people that are like, I'm trying to figure out how to film and edit my own videos, and I spent 2 hours like putting together a video. It was like, you could have spent a half hour with me, and I could have made 12 of them. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I did a post about this the other day. It's just like, how much is your time worth? Because even if you value your time at $100 an hour, right? Like, and it takes you an hour to make a video, like that's $1,200 for 12 videos. Whereas like mine is $1,000 for 12 videos. And like most people, or most professionals and people that I'm working with on LinkedIn, they value that their time over $100 an hour. So the second you start to kind of think about it that way, the price is like, I feel like my price is very low, to be honest with you. I'm sure I could raise it if I wanted to pretty significantly. I mean, it was 500 when I started. It's 1,000 now.
Yeah, I bet, bro.
So,
yeah, I'm sure it's very similar in your world, Chay, just in terms of if I thought about if I had a product and I needed, a bunch of different marketing material, there's so many elements that it's worth somebody.
A huge thing that I have come across is just lack of competence from a lot of creatives in the world that I live in, is because there's a lot of freelance photographers and freelance videographers that, power to them, they're trying their best, but they do not provide a decent result. And the client will ultimately spend more time and sometimes more money fixing the mistakes and errors from previous engagements with other, it's typically not agencies, because once people kind of get their shit together and build an agency kind of like I have, they usually have a decent idea of like what to do and how to not screw it up hugely. But like independent freelancers where, instead of spending $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 with me, they might spend $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 with this one independent. And that person is used to operating as a freelancer and not as a business owner. And so the operational logistics can get very, very muddy with those types of people. And so my goal is just to completely remove all of those hurdles. And all that person has to do is answer my questions when I have them, have creative conversations with me, send me the product, and then kind of ultimately they become a consultant at that point. They take the back seat. They become a consultant because I can't see into their brain. They can only relay that to me. I've become very good at translating client speak, for what I call it. I'm sure, Danny, you've done the same thing. You have to, we have a very difficult job. It's an unofficial language. And so that's ultimately the biggest thing. Danny, I think you'll relate to this a little bit. I gave a workshop presentation to some realtors a couple of weeks ago. And the biggest thing that I was really like harping on over and over again, because I was given the opportunity, is like, you could pitch yourself to them as a videographer and then, sell yourself to them. I was like, I would rather them know what to do first and then hire me, knowing how difficult what I do is. And so I pitched all these people and I told them, I'm like, look, here is exactly, I said, I spent about an hour with them. I said, here's how to create the next 100 videos so that when you come to me, you already know how much of a pain in the ass what I do is. And so it's a little deck. I went through an hour with them and I said, here's exactly how to create all of the content you need straight from your phone. If you have a friend, if you have a business partner, or if you have a child, you don't have to pay any of them and you just have to have them sit and record you. And if you don't want to do that, pull the most asked questions that you get on any platform, on any medium from your friends when you're telling them about what you do. If you're telling anything, what are the most common questions that you get asked? Start from there, and other people will ask more questions on those first 100 videos that you post based on those questions that you get asked. More questions will arise, more topics will arise. You'll get inspired in the middle of filming one other video and you'll be like, oh, I got to make a whole nother video on that. And so there's another idea. Do that over and over and over again. That way, I have experienced personally when I get somebody who has already done that legwork and then they come to me and I make them videos, and Danny, I'm sure you've had the same thing, their LTV goes way up.
Yeah, it's funny. My free lead magnet or whatever that I give away is a 7-day video challenge, which is essentially a mini course on how to create videos on your own. So the idea is, if you're not ready to pony up and pay the money to do videos, here is the 7-day video challenge. Take it, follow my instructions. And if you do follow my instructions, you're going to create some quality videos. However, you're also going to see how much time and effort and heartache and pain go into creating those, 12 videos or whatever it is, or or just creating a one video. And you're going to be like, okay, yeah, now I see why I want to just outsource this. That's the idea.
Yeah, it's a time value of money.
Yes.
And you guys have both touched on it. Video aside, the world of marketing has just exploded, right? Everybody has a marketing tag on their handle, right? An independent marketer. And that's what's becoming really hard, is if okay, once you go to an agency level, well, then you're paying a significantly higher cost. And so there's a gap between people that can afford to do that and looking for freelancers and solopreneurs and things like that. But then once you get into that sea of marketers and people that are, putting a sign out on their door that say they're marketing, it's hard to wade through and understand, okay, who's really going to deliver me a quality product and who's just, trying to go it on their own and be a marketer. It's tricky.
Danny, I think you'll agree with this here, is like, I think you and I both we don't have to deal with the stigma behind, because I think a lot of those marketers you're talking about are mostly like paid ads and a lot of like copywriters and people that are like, get your SEO right, get your paid ads right. They took a Google certified course and think that they're the shit and they can have the titles and stuff like that. And they all promise the world and deliver.
It's transactional. They don't care if you get the result or not, right? They're just handing you a.
And Danny, I think you'll agree with me, because we don't really have to deal with that. We're delivering a very, very different product. So we're not necessarily having to sell people on the gimmick of marketing. You can deliver a video and be like, okay, like video is king by none. And I can deliver on the fact that e-commerce brands don't make it very far without advertising and people seeing their product.
Yeah, because neither one of us have to promise any results. Like, we don't have to, because what we do, we are giving you what you need to go out there and get the results. But without your action to distribute the video content, or to do the engagement on LinkedIn, to do the customer service, to do all the other things, like without that piece, like, you're not going to succeed, right? So the idea, I'm like, people will tell me like, oh, can you guarantee that I'm going to get like this many leads from these videos and everything like that? I'm like, no, you're going to get as many leads from these videos as you put the effort in to go out and get the leads, right? So, I think that's kind of unique. Whereas, if you're somebody that's doing SEO, or you're doing Google ads or Facebook ads or something like that, people are going to expect like, okay, this is the investment that I'm making. What is the return on investment that I'm getting? And they're going to want a monetary figure to do that. Whereas what we do doesn't really do that.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, it's just a bonus that my photos and videos look really, really good, and your videos just happen to do very, very well. It's also dependent on the value of, like in my case, it's very dependent on the value of the product, and you're dependent on the value of the person and what they're saying. But ultimately, that's not our problem either. But I don't know what your filter is. I've turned away some people because I'm like, I don't think that I'll take your $8,000, but I'm also not going to take it, because I think that it's going to create bad blood in the end, because I don't think I can actually help you. And I don't think that putting my name on your thing is a good idea. And that's not what I say, but it's like, it's just not a good fit.
Yeah.
But
yeah, can be smart. Well, we're coming up on a little bit of time here. Any final thoughts from either of you? Are there just quickly, what's a resistance point for you, or a downside for somebody that was wanting to maybe explore this as a business opportunity? What's your kind of your top difficulty that you face?
I mean, I think it's a top difficulty that everybody faces. That people just don't want to spend the money.
Yeah, selling your value.
I mean, the number one objection that I get is price. I mean,
damn, how'd you know?
That's it. And like, sometimes people look at what I do as like a luxury and not a necessity. And, I have to kind of convince people that like, no, the fact that you are out there sharing your insights and thoughts and stories and building that no like trust factor with your potential customers is going to give you more of a significant return on investment than you're actually thinking about. So, but as far as, anything else, no, I think the only other thing that would affect me is like if they want to have somebody that actually comes out and shoots locally. And if you are in a position to be able to do that, like go for it, because I know that they're going to be able to deliver, a different level of quality because they have more control over the environment and everything like that. Whereas I don't have any control over that. So if people can afford local, and they want to work with somebody in that regard, and maybe they just want me to advise or something like that,
right?
I'd be happy to do that,
bro. Like, if you want to create something for any Florida clientele that you have, if you have any, like, we can make something like that happen. I'll go out, make it look fucking great, and then send you everything or send your team everything. If your team's based down in Miami, bro, I can easily coordinate with them and get them footage as well. And I've also got some resources that are available to you if you ever need anything. So we can definitely create something like that.
Yeah, look at that.
Put words in your mouth, but
we came here for a battle. We're going to leave with a partnership. Is essentially what's going to happen. But this is cool. This was very fun. Thank you guys.
No, this is the best outcome, that you both can collaborate in the future.
Yeah, so we've conferred a little bit off on the side, and in terms of this matchup, I love each of these business models. It's great. I love to see you kind of following your passions and pivoting the fact where the market takes you and stuff.
Hey, don't hold back. What you think? What's going on in your mind?
I think for the purposes of this audience, Danny's is a more approachable business model that is scalable and sustainable. I mean, Chay, you're out there delivering a high-end quality product, and it's just a different order of magnitude altogether. Yes. So a little bit of an uneven matchup here. That's hard to give a nod, but we're gonna give a nod to Danny and title Cash Flow Fight Club champion. But it does sound like this could be a partnership in the works.
Yes.
No, let's go, Danny. Good stuff.
Let's do it.
Good stuff. It's a great model, bro. I love
it. We like to end the episodes with a bit of gratitude. Just Danny, somebody along your journey that's really helped you get to where you are today. Do you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to Adam Hurd. He was my original business partner when I started the video agency for the first time. And although we're not business partners anymore, he's more of an advisor and a coach for me now. And I would not be where I am without him. So I am 100% grateful to Adam.
Love it.
How about you, Chay?
My mom taught me almost everything I knew for the first year or two of like me just not knowing anything about the camera. I have since gone and learned as much as I could, but she still helps me to this day when there's just technical things that I'm like, what? She's a huge part of that. And there's another guy named Kevin Herbert who owns a local ice cream company who was a guiding light for me for a while in work ethic. I don't know when he slept, but he built one of the biggest companies in our town. And so he was a guiding light for me for a while and still is in helping me see where I'm going. I mean, for context, I don't know if you guys even know this. I'm 21, so I'm like just trying to figure this shit out right now.
Wow.
You go, man. I love it. Yeah, it's great. And we're both grateful for you guys for coming on the show, sharing a bit about your journey, inspiring others to start their own entrepreneurial journey, whether it's in this niche or some other. I love the fact that, you guys are both flexible enough to pivot when the market changes, be it COVID or a life change or some kind of transition. And it's truly inspirational. But yeah, thanks for coming on the Cashflow Fight Club podcast. And we loved getting to know you a little more in person.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Let's go. This was awesome.
All right. Thanks, guys. That was such a fun matchup. I really had fun with those two guys.
It really was.
And we hope you enjoyed it on the Cashflow Fight Club podcast today. If you want to get in touch with either of these two creative gentlemen, Chay Nott is best found on LinkedIn at Chay Nott. That's ChayNott. He also has a great website, Nott Shots, NOTTSHOTS.com. That's Chay Nott and NottShots.com. Also, if you want to get in touch with Danny, you can find Danny at Danny DelVecchio on LinkedIn. That's the best place. He also has a great website, CoachDannyD.com. We'll drop both of those into the show notes. And again, thanks for joining us today on the podcast. We'll catch you next time. For those of you tuning in, we thank you so much for investing your time with us on the Cashflow Fight Club podcast. We certainly had a blast, received some knockout insights, all while learning something new. And we hope you did too.
If you had fun, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you watch or listen.
Lygia and I truly believe the beauty of cash flow is having your money fight for you instead of you having to fight for money. So whether it's one of these methods or something else, we encourage you to dream big and take action. See you next time.